Joe, hi, welcome. It's great to have you all here. So let's get going, and Phil will take care of the chat and the people whilst I babble on. So, yes, as I was saying, great to see some of your faces, and great that you were brave enough to put a little bit about what you're hoping to get out of the masterclass tonight. I really hope you enjoy it. We are going to look at things like self-doubt. I know you mentioned being more confident, career development. So hopefully some of the tools and the tips and stuff that I give you tonight, you'll be able to use in your own professional and personal lives. And I know, Katie, you talked about confidence and absolutely hating the word furlough, which I can totally get. I think any HR person that's watching at the moment has probably had their fill of the word furlough. So yeah, and we're going to talk about routines and how change of routine can obsess us. So we'll discuss that as part of the masterclass too. So let's get cracking, because, like I say, I want to pack as much as I can in tonight. So just a little bit about me for those that don't know anything about me. So I've got two successful businesses, Inspire Excellence, which you can see the logo for there. So that's my HR coaching and training consultancy. And then I also run an online membership for HR professionals, coaches and trainers called My People Club. And I do that with my brilliant business partner, James Perryman. So we run that together. I'm a fellow of the CIPD. I've been in HR for about 20 odd years, which does make me feel really old. And I've been working for people even longer than that. So I've always worked in supervisory and managerial roles. And actually, even from young days of being like captains of guides, patrol leaders and counsellor in the sixth form. So I've always kind of worked with people and managed teams from a young age. And I've always loved doing it. So I think that's definitely my calling in life. I've worked with a huge range of sectors and industries, and now more than ever, I tend to work more as a coach and a mentor, and also as a senior HR consultant. So my last HR role was a HR director for a big global company, and now I sort of provide consultancy services to various different businesses. So why should you listen to me? So I have a really long background in personal development. I love it. I am so interested in what triggers people, why people behave the way they do, which has prompted me to do all sorts of qualifications in psychology, in CBT, in EFT. I've done various body language diplomas. I'm also a DISC trainer, an NLP trainer. So all those different disciplines and other ones as well, but they're the main ones. And I just absolutely love it. And it's just so interesting working with different people and being able to help them get over things. So it's definitely one of my passions in life. So tonight, and just before we start, so for those that have come live, there is a very special giveaway at the end. So it's only available to those who actually watch it live, just as a thank you for being here with me. So I'm not talking to myself. So definitely stick around, because, like I say, you won't want to miss that at the end. So tonight, we are going to look at 5 steps that you can do right now to help reprogram your mind for success. So we're going to start by looking at uncertainty. So recognizing it, managing it. We're going to look at your mindset. We're going to look at getting clear. We're going to look at implementing success strategies, and we're going to focus on feeling good and why that is so important for your success. And something I've learned actually of considering I've been in personal development for so long, I'm always learning new things. So I'll tell you a few things that I've learned along the way as well. So let's get started with step 1. So it's about recognizing and dealing with uncertainty. So as humans, we don't deal with uncertainty very well. 2020 has been a huge year of uncertainty for everybody, and for change, and for dealing with things that we have never dealt with before, and it's a completely new landscape. And some people deal with that better than others. Now, actually, it's not just about whether you as a person can be adaptable to change or not. Our bodies are actually designed in a way that we don't like change. So we have a thing called homeostasis, which is where the body is in its natural neutral state, if you like. So where all our hormones and things are regulated, where we are happy and content, and our bodies really, from a physiological point of view, can't say that word very well, try to keep us in that state. So our bodies like to be in a state of inertia and homeostasis. So inertia in terms of not being able to or want to change, and then homeostasis is more about your chemical balance and your body trying to keep you in that state. Now, when we try to move out of that state, there's always that little nagging thing or something that holds us back. So this might be when we decide that we're going to lose 3 stone, or, you know, we're going to go into the unknown and we're going to try doing something totally different. And our bodies really don't like that. So it does try to pull us back. And it's a really big part of why we don't move forward, because that sense of inertia and that your body trying to keep you safe, and that's all it's trying to do, is keep you protected, keep you safe. It's like, oh, we don't want to go over there because we don't know what's going to happen. It might be unsafe, something bad might happen. So it tries to keep you in its little protected bubble, which is okay, except sometimes that little protected bubble doesn't actually serve us anymore. So we're going to be looking at in detail about that as we kind of go through tonight. Now, I'm sure you can all think of examples and times where things have been a little bit uncertainty, particularly this year, uncertain. And, you know, you've been nervous about things, you've been anxious about things. I've got loads of examples. You know, we've got a dog, so she's 2 years old, a 2-year-old Doberman, and she's not been that well this year. So she's a crazy dog, always running around. And earlier this year, she ruptured her cruciate ligament, so she had to have surgery for that. And as a result of all scans and that, we found that she had what's called spondylosis, so almost what an older dog gets, arthritis along the spine and stuff. And so she's been stiffening up and she's been yelping a lot, and, you know, and we haven't really been able to get to the bottom yet of what's going on with her, and that creates worry. So, you know, all that uncertainty around that particular thing for me creates a lot of worry. You don't like to see them in pain or upset. So it creates that uncertainty, and it's about how you deal with it. And there's lots of different ways to deal with the unknown, and we're going to talk about some of those as we go through, and some of it will become clearer as you go through, because it's all about how you respond to things. And some people will respond to things in a really helpful way. So, you know, like, it might be staying calm, it might be recognizing that actually we can't control everything, and it's all about what we can control and focusing on those. And there's those that obviously perhaps can't manage their emotions and their feelings as well as others, and they get very panicked, and they, you know, get overwhelmed, and they get very anxious, and then they don't know how to deal with those feelings. So we'll talk a little bit as we go through about some of those things. So as we say there on the slide, you know, it's been a complete change for everybody. As humans, we don't always like change, so it's not just that Joe Blogs can deal with stuff better than Anne Blogs. Sometimes it's just actually our bodies trying to protect us, and some people deal with that a little bit better than others. Things like uncertainty can raise up a lot of emotions in us, as I was saying, and things like loss of control. We don't like to be out of control, and we'll talk about control again in a little while. We don't particularly like to be too surprised if something is. It's always nice to get a nice surprise or a present, but, you know, when we get a big surprise, some people really don't like it and don't deal with that very well. I've got a family member who is a lover to bits, but she, you know, if you change anything, she really can't deal with it. So, you know, even if you change the time of when you're going to go and visit her, it becomes a big thing, and you just kind of think, oh, you know, get over it, I'm going to be an hour late or whatever. But actually, to some people, they really have those routines, or they really have the things straight in their head, and when things change, they don't they don't deal with it so well. So people don't like things that seem different, and again, all these things, it's how you deal with it, and we're going to go through that today. So we'll just have a very quick check. I think we're all good here. Oh, I hope, Deanne, I hope you're not frozen anymore. Okay, cool. So let's carry on. So the first thing that we're going to look at is control. Now, control is such a massive thing, and there's very few things we can control. And, you know, we might try and control other people, for example. We might try, especially relationships, you know, you hear of particularly unhealthy relationships where you've got a really controlling partner, and, you know, and the other person is quite submissive to that. But in general, 3 main things that we're in control of are ourselves, our responses to things, and our attitudes. So there's a really good quote actually from a guy called Viktor Frankl, who was around in the Second World War, and he was talking about the war camps and, you know, obviously all the terrible things that the Nazis did to the people in the camps where he was. And he had a quote, which I've actually written down because I want to make sure I got it right. The one thing you can't take away from me is the way I choose to respond to what you do to me. The last of one's freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given circumstance. And that is so true. It is really difficult sometimes to recognize the fact that we are in control of ourselves and our responses. Now, I've had clients dispute that sometimes, and it'll be, you know, like, oh, Chris, when my partner's driving me mad, you know, he'll just say something and it triggers me and I blurt out a load of stuff that I don't really mean to say. That's one example I can think of. And whilst it seems like an automatic response, and it is perhaps because that's the way you respond to something, but it doesn't have to be like that. It's difficult and it takes a bit of practice, but you can actually train yourself to not respond in that way. And if someone's shouting at you, you can choose to respond angrily. You can choose to walk away. You can choose to just let it come at you, block it, and then respond in a calm way. So there's lots of different ways to respond to anything. And you are in control of yourself, so you can choose how you respond to something. However, it does take practice. And one of the things that we're going to talk about tonight is the need for consistency and action. And we'll talk about the framework later. But so we are in control of ourselves. And I really want to bring that home, because sometimes we kind of feel like, oh, you know, we're not in control of this, that, and the other. And we're not, you know, we're not in control of a lot of things. So we're not in control of the pandemic. We're not in control of what's going on in our environment, but we are in control of ourselves. We are in control of our responses, and we are in control of our attitude and how we respond to things. And I think if you really keep reminding yourself of that, it gives you a really solid foundation, because when things are going a little bit wobbly, you can think, is it the way I'm responding to this that's not helpful? Is this in my control? Is it not in my control? How can I deal with it differently if it's not working out the way that I want it to? And kind of go from there. And, you know, some of the things we'll go through the session tonight will then help you build upon that foundation. So control, those are the main things that we can control. And I think it's really important as well to learn when to let go of control. Now, for those that are on the session now that kind of know me a little bit, they're probably laughing at this point, because I am quite a controlled person and I'm a bit of a control freak and a perfectionist. But it's also, and something that I've had to learn over the years, is learning when to let go of control. And I might not always be brilliant at it still, but I do recognize when I'm trying to hold on to something and, you know, be a perfectionist or do things in a certain way, when actually I could either delegate it and get it off my plate, or I could do things in a different way. So I think that's another thing, is learning to let go of the reins sometimes, and also learning to let go of things that you cannot control, because there are just things that you can't control. So someone once said to me, there's no point worrying about things that are outside of your control, because there's nothing you can do about them. Just worry about the things that are in your control and the things that you can do something about. So, you know, we can't do anything about the pandemic. It is what it is, but we can do things to make ourselves feel safer. We can do things to help our mental health and to do the best that we can in the situation. So it's learning to, you know, if you're going to be nervous about something, be nervous about things that are within your control and that you can change, and learn to let go of what's not in your control. Okay, hope you're with me so far. Okay, so we're going to look at mindset now, and mindset is like the foundation of everything. And again, it's something that takes practice. So are you a person that is kind of a cup half full or a cup half empty type of person? I think a lot of change, and when you're really setting yourself up for success, it's really about becoming super aware of what you're like, the good things and the bad things, so that you can really make change. If you're going to be oblivious to how you kind of come across or how you deal with things or how you react to things, or that you're not interested in how you do that, then you're always going to struggle to get to where you really want to get to, or it's going to take you longer, it's going to be harder. It's not to say that you wouldn't get there in the end, but it's much easier if you're very, very self-aware. So if you're a person that, before I go into this, actually, it's really important to also note that however you are at the moment, you can change that. So if you are a bit of a negative Nelly sometimes, you know, it is possible to change that around with practice. So if you're someone that, if a problem comes along that you're like, okay, it's a bit crappy, but this is what I can do, and I can, you know, move on, or I could pivot my business to do this, whatever it might be, then great. And if you're someone that's a bit like, oh God, just another thing, oh God, oh God, oh, you know, I'm so sick of this, and it's another thing, oh, this is just my luck, oh, I'm so unlucky, or all this stuff always happens to me. You've got to start becoming super careful about what you're saying to yourself. And again, we'll talk about that later in a session tonight, but it's so important that you are really super clear and super aware of how you're talking to yourself and the things that are going on in your mind. So if you think, as human beings, we have sort of 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, how much of that is positive stuff that you're thinking? And if it's not all positive stuff, and not every thought will be positive, I'm not saying that, but if the majority of your thoughts are positive and happy thoughts versus the majority of your thoughts being negative or kind of down there, you know, you're going to have two very different people, two very different mindsets. So really start noticing where you are. So how do you react when challenges come along? So again, like, are you someone that kind of thrives off challenge? Are you someone that kind of can deal with it? It doesn't faze you too much? Or are you someone that gets really overwhelmed when there's challenges? And there's no right or wrong, but obviously if you're more challenged, then you know that's where you need to work. Are you in control of your mindset? So we talked about control already, and that's just something that you can practice and practice. And every time that you hear yourself saying negative things, or you're worrying about things that are out of your control, just do something that snaps you out of it. It might be like, stop. You might just say to yourself, inside or outside, maybe inside if you're kind of out and about, otherwise people think you're a bit of a weirdo, but just say to yourself, stop, out, and, you know, replenish it with a positive thought or a positive thing. So it's really important that you become aware. And again, I'll kind of talk about this a little bit later, but one of the things that you can do, if you are a bit of a negative Nelly sometimes, a really good thing that, again, someone told me once, is make sure that you're just kind of limiting the amount of negative things you're exposing yourself to. So things like even just watching the news or reading all the newspapers or being on things, especially things like Twitter and social media, even watching soaps. So if you're watching, you know, if you're an avid watcher of things like Coronation Street or EastEnders or many of the other soaps, they're all really great programs, but actually they all thrive off drama and negativity, because if everyone was getting on and it was all happy and lovely, then people would just get bored of it, wouldn't it? And certainly over the years, obviously storylines have got even more intense, even deeper, and all this kind of stuff. So it really does have an effect on our subconscious minds. So if you are perhaps saying negative things to yourself, or you notice you're a little bit down or whatever, just really make sure that you're not sort of engaging with all that negative stuff that's coming at us all the time, and switch the news off, switch soaps off, maybe have a bit of a detox from social media, and then just focus on positive things. And we'll come to that and some positive things and books and podcasts in a little while. Okay, so next one, mindset's everything. So as we said, it is so important that we get our mindset right. Choose a mindset that's going to keep you focused and positive. So like I say, fill yourself up with positivity, fill yourself up with watching positive things, writing things, whatever it is that you do that puts you in a positive frame of mind. Because again, it's all about, and I won't go into it in loads of detail now, but I go into this in my coaching and in my programs. we are energy. You know, when you boil it down to the smallest of microscopes, we are just like atoms and molecules sort of bouncing against each other, and we vibrate on an energetic level. So like magnets, like attracts like, and if you're thinking positive, things are probably going to go a bit better for you than if you're depressed or you're down and, you know, everything's a struggle. So it's all about managing our vibration. And if you think of a scale, you've kind of got depression and all the sort of lower feelings, anger, jealousy, upset, whatever it is, all the way down at the bottom. And then as you go up, it's that happiness, joy, and kind of joy and stuff being at the top. And we want to be vibrating in that top arena as often and for as long as we possibly can to, you know, make our lives better. And it's all about noticing when you're coming down the scale and what you can do to bring yourself up. And by no means am I saying that, you know, you should be at the top of the scale all the time, because we do also have to be realistic, and life happens and we all have massive ups and downs. I know I've had my fair share of downs and my fair share of challenges to deal with. So I come from like a single parent family on an estate. My mum had no money. She used to make our clothes when we were younger. So, you know, we never had a lot when we were younger, although we always had a happy home, even though my father was never around. But later on in life, you know, as a teenager, my mum got remarried and there was domestic abuse and all sorts of things, drugs and all sorts of stuff. So loads of stuff have happened to me over the years, and times it's been a real challenge and it's been a real struggle. But it's knowing that no matter how bad it gets, and sometimes when you're at the bottom, the only way is up, right? So if you're really feeling low, sometimes the only way is up. And it's about having that determination and that drive and that commitment to kind of getting yourself to somewhere different than where you are now. So no matter who you are or what you're doing, there's always stuff that you can do to help. And there's always people there who will help you as well. And I wouldn't be where I am today without my coaches and without certain people helping me along the way. So it's important to build that support network as you kind of grow in your career and your personal life, because something that I found over the years, even though I've tried to do it all on my own sometimes, it's actually impossible to do it all on your own, and you do need that help. So going back to the slide, daily rituals and routine. Most successful people have daily rituals and routine, sorry. So even the likes of Simon Cowell is well known for wearing the same stuff every day, because he says it's one less thing to think about. You'll hear of successful people who quite often lay out their clothes the night before, so when they get up they can just get dressed and be on the way. And it's quite interesting, actually. I was watching the One show, I think it was last night actually, and Jerry Halliwell, or Jerry Horner as she's known now, I think, she was on there, and she was saying, actually Alex Jones asked her about it, and she always wears white these days, and again she pretty much said the same thing, that actually she doesn't have to think about it then, you know, she can just get dressed and get on with the day. Like, that would never work in this house with a Doberman. Honestly, anything white lasts for literally about 5 minutes before it's got paw marks on it. So black would have to be my colour, I think. But yeah, so you kind of get the picture. So it's about having daily rituals. A lot of people love routine. So I think it was Katie who was on earlier in the thread, and she was saying, you know, obviously when she was put on furlough, that kind of a real shock to the system, because she didn't have that routine anymore. She didn't have to get up and go to work. And I found that a lot with my clients. Some of my clients have really struggled when they've been either made redundant or put on furlough, because it's such a change to the system, and you know, and obviously they've not perhaps been able to cope with it so good. People love routine. You hear this all the time, and there's no better demonstration that when people retire and then they just don't have anything to do and they feel really lost. Some people pass away fairly quickly, but a lot of older people feel, you know, sort of talk about feeling really lost because they don't have that routine, they don't have that social connection anymore, or the social network around them. So as humans, we love routine. So the more you can get into a good, healthy routine, whether that's getting up and do some exercise, whether that's meditating when you get up, whether that's getting up and doing your gratitude diary. So that's always something that I would recommend, like 3 things you're grateful for every morning or evening or both. It's good to start the day and end the day on a good note. Little things like that, but just get into a routine, because like anything, and I'm going to be like the bearer of bad news here, but there isn't like a magic pill to make you better or more successful. And the real success comes from small actions consistently. So small actions day after day after day after day after day. And you won't necessarily see the change within the first week, 2 weeks. It might only be a year later when you look back and think, oh my God, actually, I'm in such a different place than I was then. So it's about small actions repeatedly. You're never going to be able to do it by doing things for a week and then thinking, God, this isn't working, and then throw it away. And if you want a really good book to read on this, it's called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And he talks about this, and he says that, a lot of these practices that make people really successful are really easy to do, but they're really easy not to do as well. So people just get bored of it, or they can't be bothered, or after a long day, they just think, oh God, sod it, can't be asked, whatever it is, but then they can't be bothered and they don't get there. So it's about these small actions over and over and over again, which is going to get you to where you want to be, and is going to get you to success. So focus on inspiring content. So like we said before, inspiring podcasts. I follow some of the big coaches in America, Tony Robbins, Brendon Burchard. I love reading, and Tony Robbins has got some really good books as well. So I'd definitely recommend checking out his books. Brené Brown, she's got obviously got podcasts and everything else, but I was watching, she's got a Netflix show as well, one of her shows on Netflix, so that's worth a watch. I can't remember what it's called, but if you search for Brené Brown, that'll come up, and that's quite an interesting and entertaining watch. So whatever inspires you, and again, it's going to be different for everybody. Find what works for you, find things that you like that are positive, and take that forward. Now I've got a system, the CAC framework, and it always makes me smile, because CAC is always supposed to be something crappy and stuff, actually, isn't it? But it's actually quite a good framework, and it makes me smile. So commitment, action, and consistency. Whatever you're doing in life, relationships, business, personal, whatever you're working on, commitment, action, consistency, that is what you need to make things work. And also maybe make things not work if you're consistently doing stuff that's not helpful, but we'll talk about it in a positive light. So yeah, make sure you're consistent with whatever you're doing. It's really, really important. Okay, so the next step, which we've touched on a little bit already, is about clarity. Clarity equals success. I have this so many times with my clients, and they really want to make change. They really want success in different ways. So again, success is different for everybody. Success to one person might be having £500,000 in the bank. Success to another person might just be getting to the end of the year with a business that's still afloat. Success to another one is having a healthy relationship, and that's it, kind of thing. They're not bothered about money or whatever. So it's about what success is for you, but you need to get super clear on what you want. And it's a big thing that people think, oh yeah, okay, I need, I'd really like to have more money. Okay, well, how much more money? Oh, I don't know, a few £1,000s in the bank, or that's great, and it's great that you've kind of got some direction, but actually, if we're going to get really clear on things, we need to know exactly, so how much money in the bank it would be good for you. £500,000, £1 million, £100,000, whatever it is, you need to get really clear on your goals. The top performers in the world, and if you follow any of the coaches, they all say the same thing. The most successful people are the ones that are super clear of what they want. So think of any top athlete, they're absolutely going for the Wimbledon Cup or whatever, to win the Premiership, whatever it is, but they have their eyes on one prize and they're super focused, and everything they do is about getting to that goal. So if you want something, but you're not super clear on how are you going to get it, or what it is even, then that's where you need to start. So clarity is king, if you like. You need to get super clear on what you want to do. If you're in one of the HR bods that's on tonight, you'll have heard things like SMART objectives and stuff over and over. And every time someone says that to me, I think, oh God, here we go. because it is quite boring, but it is actually true. You do want something that is actually, if we talk about SMART, and for anybody that's watching that doesn't know, SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So if you want really clear objectives, you can follow that framework if you're kind of new to this, but whatever it is, you need to know what you're trying to achieve and by what time frame. And through all my training and all the years, what I found the easiest and what I find works well for people is, especially, in fact, actually in NLP, if I'm coaching somebody face to face, I will actually get a load of A4 bits of paper and I'll put them all the way on the floor, and then we'll put the goal at the end and we work backwards. So, and we break it down into small chunks, because sometimes when we have a goal, it just seems either too far away or too overwhelming or too scary or whatever it is, and it puts people off. So we go into that stage of homeostasis where we don't really want to get out of our comfort zones, even though if you see any of the illustrations, outside is where the magic happens, outside of our comfort zones. And we don't really get scared, and then we don't really kind of go for it. So it's all about breaking it down into smaller chunks. But before you can even do that, you really need to get super clear. And if you are super clear, the next question is, what are you doing to get there? So it's all right having that super clear goal, but are you actually doing things that are taking you towards that goal? Or again, are you kind of saying, yeah, that's where I want to get to? And then again, I've had this with clients so much, where you ask them and they're like, well, yeah, that's where I want to get to. So what are you doing to get there? Well, nothing really. I'm kind of busy at the moment, or got loads of family stuff, or so again, it's not about putting all that to the side and just focusing on the goal, but then it's about finding small steps that you can take to actually get you closer to that goal, because you're never going to get there unless you start focusing on it and putting in those small steps. And that's why, whether it's like me or anyone else, but it's good to have a coach, because they can keep you accountable. And I've found that even though I'm very productive on my own, and I'm quite a driven person anyway, so I can drive myself, having a coach or someone there, a mentor, or someone you can bounce things off, definitely helps me, because they're like, oh, because you just think, oh God, I've got my next session next week, so I need to have this done by then. And again, sometimes when you're sort of procrastinating or whatever, it just gives you that kick up the bum to try and move yourself along. So next, we talked about, is it SMART? Create a timeline and work backwards and break things into smaller pieces. And again, these steps to success, you're going to finish Masterclass, and there's no groundbreaking or magic pill or something that you've never heard of before. These are all really easy and really logical things to do, but because we get so busy in life, we forget a lot of it. So sometimes you just need this reminder to kind of get yourself back on track and really start thinking about where you want to get to and how you're going to get there. So step 4, implementing your success strategies. Find what works for you. So routine. We've talked about that already. Routine is so important, and getting into good routines. Exercise, getting fresh air. Again, we'll talk about things that make us feel good shortly. Break things down. So again, don't have an overwhelming goal like, I want to lose 3 stone. Oh God, that just feels too scary and too terrifying. But actually, if you say, well, I need to lose like a couple of pounds or a pound every week or whatever, then that suddenly feels more achievable. So whatever your goal is, break it down and keep breaking it down until it feels achievable. And it might take a bit longer. That's sometimes okay. So yeah, just do what works for you. And the thing with this is try not to feel too pressured, because as soon as you start feeling overwhelmed and pressured, you're kind of going down that energetic scale again, which is going to make it twice as hard, and your body's going to say, no, I don't want to do this. So it's got to feel manageable, where you perhaps even get excited about doing it. And then, like you say, you're staying up here vibrationally, and things are much more likely to flow better for you. Try and balance your work and life. Again, something that I'm not always particularly good at, but if you've got big projects on, so I've been working on some coaching programs and different things, you have periods where you have to put your all in it. It kind of annoys me when people say, oh, things shouldn't be hard in business, it should be like a breeze or whatever. And maybe when you've been going quite a long time and things are sort of plateaued and you've done all the hard work and you can kind of sit back a bit, that might be the case. But actually, if you're doing something new, or whether it's a new part of a new business, or it's a new service or package that you're offering, or in your relationships you're doing work, whatever it is, then actually there are periods of hard work, and people don't get to the top by kind of doing things once a week, or like you don't see any footballer who just plays football once a week and then stays at the top of the game, especially in the younger years when they're trying to be signed for a big team. They're playing every night, every minute they can after school, all these things, and it's practice to perfect what they're doing. And sometimes success isn't about getting to the top. That's not success for everybody, but it does take commitment. And we go back to my CAC framework. It does take commitment, it does take action, and it does take consistency. And if you're not prepared to do those three things, then things will be a lot harder. You might still get there in the end, but it will be harder, and you're never going to make significant change, certainly not significant change quickly, if you're only kind of half in. So again, that's something you can become aware of yourself, and where you are on that scale of things. And remember, Rome wasn't built in a day. Again, something I'm not so good at. Patience, and again, patience is such a big thing. We kind of, especially these days, I remember years ago, I worked in casinos, so 18 to, I don't know, 22-ish, worked in casinos and worked abroad on the cruise ships in casinos. And when I remember when I was learning at the time, and they said people's attention span was about 20 minutes then, so they used to change the dealers and stuff after 20 minutes if they could, if they weren't short staffed, because after then you sort of start slipping in concentration or whatever. Recently, I've read a few things recently that says actually now our attention span is actually less than a goldfish, which is quite scary really, isn't it? So it's less than 3 seconds. And that's mainly because obviously we spend our life scrolling through social media, and if something doesn't catch our attention in the first couple of seconds, then we've gone past it and scrolled past it. So it means that we have a very short amount of time to capture people's attention if we're sort of promoting stuff. But also, we've just become such an impatient society. Again, years ago, before email was really a big thing, to write letters and wait a week for a response or whatever. And now you send an email, and sometimes you can be like, oh, it's 10 minutes later and they've not replied, yet. So we have become so impatient as a society. And I think when you're working on yourself, and particularly when you're working on your inner stuff, you've got to give yourself time, because it isn't an overnight thing. And I've been working on myself for years, and there's still stuff that comes up, and a lot of it is embedded in childhood, which we work on when I work with clients privately. But the way we are, a lot of it is embedded in that first 7 years where we don't have any filters and we just soak everything up. But that's a whole session on its own. So a lot of struggles or the obstacles or the insecurities we have generally stem back to that time. Not all of them, obviously, but a lot of them will do. So give yourself a break. Remember that patience is a virtue, and that actually, unless you're very lucky, things don't always happen overnight. Next up, implement success strategies. So following on from the last slide on that, make sure that you're limiting your exposure to negative things. So follow, watch, read things by inspirational people. Watch who you're taking advice and listening to. So again, if you're starting something new, so if you're starting a new business, for example, you quite often find that, especially sometimes family members, who can be trying to do the best that they can, but sometimes kind of put a negative effect on us. But actually, they haven't been where you're going quite often. And we take advice sometimes from people who don't really know about where we're trying to get to. So certainly when I started my new business, I won't say new business, I've been going a few years now, but when I started at the beginning, people were like, oh, do you really want to do that? It's risky, and oh, you know, you'd be much more comfortable in just carrying on with what you were doing, even though I was quite miserable doing what I was doing. I wasn't really enjoying it anymore. You know, again, it's about being in that comfort zone, isn't it? And it's about people feeling safe in that bubble, and not only for themselves, but people feel safe when they know other people's bubbles and that they're in their own little bubbles, and you know, and nothing else sort of matters. So people don't often want you to kind of explode out of the bubble and do something totally different, because it rocks their sense of certainty as well. So again, just be mindful of, I'm sure family and friends and that can be very well meaning sometimes, but they don't always offer the best advice. So make sure whoever you're taking advice and listening to, that they've really got constructive things to say for or against whatever it is that you want to do and whatever it is that you want to succeed in. And like you say, that'd be different depending on whether you want to be successful in business or you've got relationship problems or whatever it might be. So that would be my tip to you, is just be mindful about who you're listening to and who you're taking advice from, and also then who you're working with as a coach. Sometimes, like, there's been people that have come to me for coaching, but it's not been a good fit because they want coaching in line with a specific like tech thing, which is not my bag. I don't know anything about tech. So whilst I can coach them on the wider stuff, they want, which is more mentoring really, they really wanted mentoring in that area. So you refer people on, but not everyone will refer people on. Some people will try and take clients no matter what. So really, when you're working with people, coaches, mentors, or anybody else, then make sure you chat to them, make sure they're a good fit for you, make sure you think that they can help you, because yeah, it can go wrong if you don't do that. And then again, remember CAC, so commitment, action, and consistency. Focus on feeling good. It's so important for us professionally and personally. It is when we feel good, we are more productive. So we're more on it, we feel more vibrant, we get through our to-do lists much quicker, you know, and you can just feel the difference. And an exercise I do with some of my clients, and I'll tell you it very quickly so that you can practice it on your own if you like. But if you go and stand in front of a mirror and think really sad things, you know, whatever, then what you'll notice is that you slouch, you shrink in even, you know, you look down. And it's not a great place to feel, is it? It's not a good place to be. Whereas if you then think of really positive things and really exciting things, then immediately you sit up straighter, your shoulders go back, your head's up. And that's just from thinking of two different things. And like I say, in my coaching programs, we talk about state quite a lot and how you can get yourself in and out of state quite quickly. So you can, if you're not feeling good, then it's about finding things that'll snap you out of that quite quickly. It might be music, it might be exercise, it might be whatever it is that you can recognize, oh, actually, I'm not in a good energetic place here. I need to sort of bump it up and do something to snap you out of it. So feeling good is really, really important. Feeling joy is really important. And someone said to me recently in my coaching, my coach to me, I mean, said, how much time are you spending in joy? And I think that is a really good question to ask yourselves, and ask yourself it's now, and on a scale of 1 to 10, like, how much time are you spending in joy? Now, I think it's quite telling sometimes, isn't it? Because even, you know, if you're working all the time or if you're stressed with kids and family, it's very easy to go down that scale of joy very, very quickly. So actually, by thinking of that maybe daily, you know, what have I done to be in joy today? Or when I say joy, it could be playfulness or just something that makes you smile, makes you happy. It might be a walk around the block, it might just be having 5 minutes to have a cup of tea in peace. Whatever it is for you, how much time are you spending in joy and how often are you doing that? And actually, if it's not very often at all, then maybe you kind of want to think about that and think about ways that you could introduce more little short, sharp bursts of joy into your days, because again, that helps us keep at that higher energetic level for much longer. Next, work from the inside out. So it's really good to exercise. It's really good to try and look good if that helps you feel more confident, or wear nice clothes, or whatever it is that makes you feel good. But actually, our outer worlds are quite often a reflection of our innermost thoughts and subconscious beliefs and feelings. And clients that I work with who aren't where they want to be, when we work with some of their subconscious beliefs, they don't feel like they're good enough, or they don't feel like they deserve it. And that's another common one. Or they have imposter syndrome if they're at the top and they kind of think, how have I got here? Am I any good at this? So again, I work with people at all levels. And these are really common things, no matter what level you're at, no matter what background. We all feel very similar things. So it's really important that you work from the inside out. And it's really important that you really analyze your life and your, whether it's in your business, in your relationships, in any area of your life, financial. And when we work with people, we do this whole assessment piece. We look at every single area of your life, and that you let go of things that don't serve you anymore, or you might reduce things that don't serve you anymore if you can't let go of them completely. And sometimes I get clients. So I had a client that came to me, and this is a few years ago now, but she had we were doing EFT with them. So this is like where you're tapping on your acupuncture points and stuff, and it's more of a therapeutic thing than perhaps pure coaching. And she was basically quite poorly, and we've been doing some sessions and stuff with her and a bit of coaching as well. And she kind of got to the stage with her EFT where she was walking better and she was more confident, but she couldn't quite get to the stage where she was walking without a stick. And long story short, when we kind of boiled down to it, and we did loads and loads of exercises over a period of time, and what it boiled down to is that she didn't actually fully want to let it go. Like, she didn't want to get fully better, or she didn't want to fully move on. And the reason for that was because actually her son had been coming around with food, shopping every week, and coming to visit her, and actually spending more time with her. And she liked that, and she kind of thought that if she kind of got fully better, or she fully moved on and kind of moved on with her life, that would stop again. And so there was almost like a positive benefit to not letting go of something completely. So it sounds a bit bizarre, and again, I've got loads of examples of this, but I want to try and finish somewhere near time. But yeah, really have a think about, and if you've got things that aren't so positive in your life, just ask, why have I not let this go yet? And write yourself a little list if you need to, and really analyze what you write down. And also, are there any positive benefits for holding on to this? So, like some people say that when people put on a bit of weight, it's almost like protection. I don't know if I totally get that, and again, so if that's the case, what is that protecting me from? So yeah, just have a little look at the things that are going on in your life, and if particularly things that aren't serving you very well, and just see. Like another example I had is someone that was making money, but she was spending it as fast as she was making it. And when we really delved into her subconscious beliefs, it was almost because she'd been brought up quite poor. She didn't believe that she almost deserved to have the money, so it was kind of burning a hole in her pocket. So it's kind of going out as fast as it was coming in, and it was almost like she was scared to actually have money in her bank account. So again, just have a little nosy at things that perhaps aren't serving you so well. Look at if you can let it go, if you're ready to let it go, and if you're not, why not? And just start questioning those things. And again, by doing that and releasing all the junk that we don't need anymore, will help you along that path to success, and will help reprogram your mind and get you into those practices that are really going to help you as you go along your way. And finally, education. So that comes with like listening to positive stuff, reading positive stuff, and really practicing and educating yourself in mindfulness and being aware of your thoughts. When it's not so good, being able to think, no, stop, and go for a more positive thought. When you feel yourself reacting to something quite negatively, thinking, no, I'm not going to react like that this time. And again, practice makes perfect. So the more you be aware and can stop yourself, the more you'll be able to put in good strategies going forward. So we're getting to the last few slides, you'll be pleased to know. I hope you're enjoying your wine. I'm gasping for my glass after this now. So a few final tips. Plan. So other ways that you can help yourself to feel good. Plan, be organised, and be intentional. So if you plan your day, and it never, it might not always go like that, but if you have an idea of what you want to achieve each day, have a to-do list. There is actually scientific proof that ticking off a to-do list releases endorphins in our brain and makes us feel good because it feels like we've achieved something. It feels like we've been successful at something. So all these little tiny things which seem like nothing all help build that positive structure from the inside out. Be organized. So when we know what we want to achieve that day and we achieve it, we feel better, we feel organized, we start vibrating higher. Focus on what you want to achieve. So again, be clear. Have open and honest conversations. So I was giving a keynote speech to sort of Europe and African region of a company a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about burnout and things like that. Be honest, if you're not coping so well, or have that culture, if you're the HR person, encourage your business to have that culture where people can have open and honest conversations. People get really nervous that, oh, I'd really like to take a walk at lunchtime, but if my boss phones me then and I'm out having a walk, they're going to think that I don't do anything. So all that type of stuff. So make sure you have a culture in your business that encourages people to have open conversations that, yeah, I need a break at lunchtime, so I'm going to go for a walk every lunch, but obviously I'll make sure that all my work's done. Or, I've got kids, I'm homeschooling, I can't do all my work in 9 till 5, but I'll get up a bit earlier or I'll do it later. And as businesses, we should be focusing more on productivity and end output rather than someone sat at the desk 9 till 5. So again, whole different session, but encourage people to have open and honest conversations. And it's not just in business, whether it's with children, whether it's with your partner, whether it's with family members, friends. Encourage those honest conversations so that you can be able to say when you're struggling, when things aren't going so well, when things are going really well, and then how to, if it's with your partner, for example, like being able to say, oh, I don't feel that good today, and they know how to bring you out of it. So if I'm sort of a bit down in the dumps, whatever, my partner Chris will do something to make me laugh or be stupid, which is quite a lot of. So, and it makes you smile, and it sort of brings you out of that slump, if you like. So make sure you've got that kind of support network in place. Like we said before, break things down into bite-sized chunks. It's much more manageable. You're much more likely to succeed and to be able to program your mind for success if it feels like things are achievable. Where it doesn't, you'll go into protection mode where everything suddenly feels too big, too scary, too overwhelming, and it'll be much harder to kind of get started and keep the momentum up. So make sure that you break things down. Make sure that you review things regularly, so it's very easy to go off on tangents. So if you've got a goal in mind, you've become super clear about that goal and you broke it down into the steps you need to achieve, make sure you're reviewing it to stay on that track. It might sometimes life gets in the way and we have to pause things, that's fine, but make sure that you kind of know that, and you know that when you resume, you're following that same track to success. And finally, make sure that you reward yourself. So all too often and again, that kind of culture that we're in at the moment where it's like the next thing and the next thing, and we're already on to the next thing, and where actually people say like it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Half agree with that, half don't. Sometimes you kind of want to get to the destination, and there's certain destinations that I definitely wanted to get to and want to get to, but it is about the journey as well. And I do think that's very important, because sometimes we can be head down doing all the work and actually life is passing us by and we're missing out on the joy, we're missing out on the good times, we're missing out on connection because we're so engrossed in what's going on in our own lives. So really make sure that you reward yourself. And sometimes that, like I say, it might be I'm talking about wine a lot lately, and I don't actually drink that much wine, so I don't think I'm an alcoholic whilst I'm talking about this. But it might be a glass of wine, it might be a cup of tea, it might be, you know, a night out when we can go out, or whatever it is that you do to reward yourself. Make sure that you know, you do that, and you do give yourself credit. Sometimes I think we're too hard on ourselves, and actually it takes someone else to say, oh, you did really good at that, or you, whatever it was. But actually we need to recognize that for ourselves and feel it in ourselves. I was always really bad, and still sometimes get a bit uncomfortable with compliments and stuff. And again, that says more about me than anybody else. So if you notice those sorts of things, notice it and see what you can do to kind of get over that, because you deserve to feel good and you deserve good things. So if someone compliments you, it's like, yeah, thank you, or you know, or so make sure you reward yourself and feel good. Right, final ones. Other things you can do to feel good. Exercise, we all know that releases endorphins, it makes us feel good. If you, even just a walk in the park, taking your dog for a walk, taking the kids for a walk, being in the fresh air, it really does do wonders. Even better if you can not be on your social media and on your phones whilst you're out in nature. I know, you know, sometimes I think, oh God, you know, I'm really busy today, can't really bother to take the dog for a walk, or I haven't really got time to do it. But we actually went out in the rain yesterday around our local country park, and you know, I was mind whirring before I got on the walk, and then when I came back I felt much calmer, I feel much more refreshed. So it is an amazing thing to do. So make sure you do your exercise. Look at your physical space. So again, you'll hear loads of studies and stuff about, you know, clear desk, clear mind, all that kind of stuff. So if you're sitting working and there's just junk everywhere, then again, all that clutter kind of gets into your mind as well, and we're often not productive. And you might think on a conscious level that's quite a lot of rubbish, but actually on a subconscious level, that's what we like. I particularly am quite organised and quite clean, so I love it when I can walk into the office and, you know, everything's in its place, and I sit down, it feels good. I've got plants in a corner, so again, if you sat near a window, a light, so look at your physical space, particularly now we're working from home. Is it suitable? Does it make you feel good? Can you put a nice picture up that makes you smile if it's not good as it could be? Set personal boundaries. So again, this is all the whole thing, like if your manager emails you at 10 o'clock at night, just having that conversation between the two of you, perhaps, that actually he doesn't expect an answer then, but you can answer in the morning. I remember in the years of having a BlackBerry and the little red light flashing at me, and you know, as soon as it started flashing, you just had that innate urge to like pick it up and see who was emailing you, even if you were like enjoying yourself at home. And I always remember like getting an email which really annoyed me, and I was at home playing Scrabble with my partner, and we had a glass of wine, we had the dog, what was there, the fire was on, and oh, I was just really annoyed for the rest of the night then, and it put me in a really bad mood. So again, have those personal boundaries. And now I don't have any notifications on my phones. If I want to look at my emails, I actually have to go into the email application, and I don't have them popping up on the screen and stuff, because it just becomes a distraction when you are trying to switch off. So make sure you've got your boundaries in place. Ask yourself how much time you spend in joy, and then look at your self-care rituals and what you do to look after yourself. And again, we've talked about a lot of them tonight, but there's so many more things that you could do. You know, it might be cooking that's really therapeutic for you. It might be like tidying up and clearing out. It might be giving back to the community. But people say one of the most special things you can do, and the way humans are programmed, one of the ways you can feel most fulfilled is by actually doing things for other people, and that brings us as humans a lot of joy. So giving out, and then obviously generally you get back as well. Things like, if you're really into it, taking cold showers can be very refreshing. It's not my cup of tea, but it's about finding what is your cup of tea and working that into your routine. Finally, so if you really want to reprogram your mind for success, it is about attention. So attention to the way you talk to yourself and others. It's about looking at your subconscious beliefs. It's about doing inspiring stuff and surrounding yourself with an inspiring environment, rather than watching the news and the soaps and all the negative stuff. speaking to someone if that helps, or having a coach or a mentor, and make sure you let go of things that don't serve you anymore. But if you remember anything, remember CAC, which is commitment, action, consistency, because again, this stuff's not sexy, but it is true. So if you really want to reprogram your mind for success, you have got to be totally committed to the steps that you're going to take, whatever they are. You have to take action, because otherwise things aren't going to change, or they're going to change for you often, and you've just got to kind of go with the flow. And you need to be consistent about it. So again, you don't lose 3 stone by exercising or going to the gym once, do you? So whatever it is that you're trying to succeed in, you need to have consistency. And I could just put this as a little bit of a reminder, actually, I thought it was quite nice, is that when we're on the path to success, or when we're focused on a goal, we think that success is that straight line, when it's not. It's all these like wiggly lines and backwards and forwards before we kind of get to where we want to go. And a lot of life is about resilience, and it is about how many times can you get knocked down, get up, dust yourself off, and carry on going towards your goals. So again, by practicing all the things that we've talked about in this masterclass, will really help you bounce back a lot more easily, especially if you're positive and you can think, oh God, that was a really crap thing that happened to me, but it's okay, I've learned from it. I'm not going to make that mistake again, and I'm going to carry on as I was. And I just thought these people were just some of the people that I picked out. I'm sure there's loads and loads more, but you've got the likes of Oprah, who obviously had a very traumatic childhood, a lot of abuse and things. She was actually fired from a TV network for not being suitable to be on TV, and then look where she's managed to get to. Michael Jordan, who was fired from his high school basketball team as having not enough skill to be at the top. And also with Michael Jordan, he is obviously one of the most celebrated basketball players and one of the most successful, but actually he's also missed the most amount of shots as well. So it's just actually that he's took the most amount of shots and tried. So again, it's about every time, like Edison, I found 1,000 ways not to do a light bulb. He didn't succeed as failing. He just said, I found 1,000 ways not to do it. And then you've got the likes of Walt Disney at the bottom left there. Again, he was fired from a newspaper for having no imagination, and look what he went on to achieve. You've got Henry Ford next to him, who had 3 failed businesses before he had success with Ford Motors, and he was in his 50s when he came across that success. And Marilyn Monroe, who again was very successful in her time, but was told that she wasn't going to be successful, and she again wouldn't be good enough to be on screen. So these are just little reminders that things get us down, things get in our way. That is just life. It's never going to be plain sailing, and if it has been, then you are very, very lucky. But for most of us, it isn't that one smooth line, and it takes a lot of ups and downs to get to where we're going. So my advice to you is just, no matter how difficult it is, keep going, keep plugging away at it. Make sure you're doing all the right things. But yeah, just use this as a little bit of a reminder that actually it sometimes takes a little bit longer than we expect, but we can get there in the end. So finally, just remember, we're all different. Whatever works for one person might not for another. So it's about finding what fits for you. Do things for other people, like we talked about. It's the fastest way to get to joy. Be open, be resilient, feel good. And it's about working on your subconscious beliefs. So that is the key to, that's the golden ticket, if you like. If you work on your subconscious beliefs and the things that are holding you back, then you are much more likely to get to where you want to be. So I'm going to get to the giveaway. So thank you so much for those that have managed to stay to the end. I really appreciate it. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you do want to get in touch, then obviously I'm on all the social media. They're all on the website, so you can get in touch by the website or by any of the social media outlets. Yeah, please do get in touch. So giveaway time. I really hope that you've managed to get some tips, and I hope you either made notes or you obviously can watch it on the replay as well. And it's really important that you put those things into place if you want to get to success. I think one of the other things that is put all those things into place. It's really important to feel good and positive, because when we feel good and positive, we're in that vibe, things flow to us much, much better. But getting to that stage can sometimes be quite difficult. So I would love to give all of you guys that have managed to stay to the end a little gift if you would like to have it. Obviously, if you don't, then you don't need to comment or message me afterwards. But for those that would love this gift, what I would love for you to do is to find me on Facebook. So you'll be able to find me in the group, add me as a friend if you're not friends already. And what I'm going to do for you is offer each and every one of you a 20-minute clearing session with me. So over Zoom, what we'll do is we'll choose one of your self-limiting beliefs, and we'll do a bit of a clearing session for you to really cement what we've talked about today, and really give you, a really good head start for making the changes that you want to make. So what I would like you to do is, if you get out your phones now and find me on Facebook, and what I would love for you to do is message me, yes, I'm in Christina. And what I'm going to do, this offer will be open for a short while after the masterclass, so only for an hour or so. And it won't be available for those that watch it on replay, so it's only for those that have managed to last all the way to the end. Obviously, Phil's been keeping an eye on who's around. And yeah, if you would love to have a clearing session with me, I would love to work with you. There's no sign up or anything, it's all free. It's just a chance for me to get to know you guys a little bit more and to help you on your journeys, because I absolutely adore it when people are successful. And I know there's a couple of people that I mentor that have been part of the group tonight and stuff, and there's just no better feeling than seeing other people blossom. So that's what's in it for me. So if you would like that clearing session with me, text me or message me on Facebook and say, yes, Christina, I'm in. And what I'll do in the next sort of 24 hours, I'll be back in touch with you to arrange your 20-minute clearing session. So I hope that's something that you guys will enjoy. So I think that's it. I've not seen any other questions. So, Brill. Oh, thank you, Katie. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. So that's it for tonight then, guys. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for spending some of your Thursday night with me. Like I say, go and enjoy the rest of your evenings now. If you've got any questions, by all means, message me. I'll be around in the group. We won't close this group down. We'll keep it there. So if you've got any questions, you can put it in the group, or you can message me privately. And I hope to see you on your clearing session very soon. So thank you and enjoy. All right, guys, I'll stop the share now. And I hope to see you soon. Enjoy your night, guys.